Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 at 4:50 p.m. in council chambers and via electronic participation. Item number 1, call to order, and a moment of silence. Call to order at 4:50. Item number 2, land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on traditional and unceded territory of Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of these Indigenous peoples in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Item number 3, approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Casey Owens.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 be approved as circulated.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 4, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted at the table. Item number 5, civics petitions. There are none this evening. Item number 6, delegations and presentations. Tonight we will be welcoming Northeastern Public Health for an update. Dr. Leanne Catton will be joining us. Moved by Councillor Shaba, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that the delegation entitled Northeastern Public Health NEPH update be received for information purposes.
Thank you. Welcome. Hello, Leanne. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we're absolutely terrific. You can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to try and share my screen. If not, I can just talk through it. I just have a few slides.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. Are you able to see my slide okay?
Yep,
Yes.
we've got it.
Okay, perfect. So first off, thank you so much, Mayor White and Council, for welcoming me this evening. I really wish I could have been there in person, but unfortunately was not able to maneuver the travel this week at all. So hopefully, again, sometime soon. And I also just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge Councillor Casey Owens, who's one of our current board members at NEF representing Kirkland Lake, and also really acknowledge Mayor White as the former board chair for Temiskaming and the tremendous leadership that you demonstrate in guiding and working with all of us to get to this point of being a merged public health entity for the Northeast. And of course, the amazing team that you have there in Kirkland Lake, who are so integral and I know work incredibly hard to support the community in public health needs. So just going to be a really quick overview today. I know there's a request in the future for a budget. I'm only doing one quick sort of commentary on that. Otherwise, just talking a little bit about how we came to be NEF, looking at strengthening public health, some of the wins and successes that we've seen in coming together, and some of the next steps. And so this isn't a traditional vision statement, but was really the statement that we used as sort of our guidance as a merging group of two prior public health entities in really looking at how we could come together to optimize resources and deliver resilient, responsive public health programs and services for the best possible public health outcomes in the diverse communities we serve. And this is still very much at the center of all the decisions and all the work that we're doing as a team and the work with our community partners and municipalities. So how we became NEF, it's actually a lot more convoluted and lengthy than this, but just wanted to give a really quick high level summary in case some people aren't really aware of the long history of the discussion around the merger and how this came about. So in 1990, PHU and THU actually almost merged, and something happened and it didn't happen. In 2006, there was a really significant paper that came out that was titled Revitalizing Ontario's Public Health Capacity, the final review report of the Capacity Review Committee. This document talked about the optimal population size that you want to really be able to see a local public health unit strengthen public health. It looked at what types of capacities you need to be the most optimal public health entity, and it recommended several mergers across the province. And at the point of us making the decision to merge in 2023, we were one of a few of them that hadn't merged yet, but a lot of the other ones had already gone forward. And so that was actually recommended in 2006. In 2019, some of you may recall, there was a paper and a recommendation to modernize public health in the province and to reduce the then 34 local public health units to 10 health units. In that proposed structure, all 5 northern health units were going to be merging. And so they had recommended that Temiskaming, North Bay, Parry Sound District, Algoma, Porcupine, and Sudbury all merged together to become one health unit. As you may recall, many municipalities and health units and partners provided feedback and commentary on this proposition and sort of looking at what really maybe would be a good idea for different regions. And there was an extensive consultation process undertaken at that point in time with Jim Pine, and he went around with a group from the ministry to visit all the health units and municipal partners across the province. We were scheduled to have our meeting, Temiskaming Health Unit in Porcupine, in February of 2020. We were going to be responding. Both boards had felt the same. Both leadership within the organization felt the same, that merging the 5 northern health units was likely not the best for our region, just having some unique changes and challenges and differences. But however, really recognizing that a Porcupine-Temiskaming Health Unit merger really made sense. And there were some really good synergies and opportunities that would come about by doing that. That was going to be our joint answer, and unfortunately COVID hit. And so the whole consultation ended. We were the last group to go and never really had that opportunity. However, we were able to share that was our feedback, and we were also able to apply for funding to really start to explore the possibility of a merger at that point. Throughout COVID-19, obviously, that funding opportunity to explore a merger continued, but we never had the capacity to really go there. What COVID-19 did demonstrate for us and for our teams, and by us, I mean our boards, and especially Dr. Corneal and myself, it really emphasized the need to merge. We both had amazing teams, amazing boards, amazing partnerships with municipalities, local hospitals, all the partners necessary to respond to an emergency and do important public health work, but neither of us were big enough. And so the amazing response of both of our teams during COVID really amounted to significant amounts of overtime that are really, unrealistic. And I continue to just be so amazed and grateful for the teams and the way they did step up to support our communities during the pandemic, but really demonstrated that we had opportunities to do something different in the future so that we had a bigger team overall. So we continued to talk throughout and obviously met regularly and supported each other and our teams where we could in working together, but really recognized that actually going through the formal merger was where we would really see those capacity changes and those opportunities to reduce duplication and be able to do more work with the amazing team that we had. In the summer of 2023, actually, Minister Jones came up and had a visit in the north, and we started talking again around this. And this was just the time when things were starting to settle enough that we were able to really go back and say, we really need to start having some discussions about the merger. Luckily, both boards did have the, sort of the leadership to really say, wow, this really is important. We really do think we need to go there. And both boards met individually in camera, agreed with the movement, to say, let's do this, let's take the steps necessary to move forward. And just a week after that, the Ministry of Health at AMO announced funding for voluntary mergers, which was incredibly fortunate because as we've learned, mergers, and we know that this in any sector is not cheap. And so the opportunity that has come about with the ministry fully supporting the merger work has been incredible. So in fall 2023, we sent formal notification to the ministry, really supporting that we wanted to move forward and stating our intention to merge. In April 2024, we submitted the voluntary merger business case to the ministry. December 4th, I believe, 2024, we had the official approval of the merger for the 9 health units that merged into 4 new entities. And January 1st, 2025, we became Northeastern Public Health and had our first board meeting on New Year's Day. So some of the big picture, why do we do this when we're looking at strengthening public health? And I think incredibly important to acknowledge that both teams, all staff members continue and have always done amazing work. It's not because any of this was not already amazing. It really has been incredible. And I continue to be humbled and really super proud and amazed of the work and leadership that the teams provide in their communities. But it really is a great opportunity, an important opportunity to increase staff capacity by reducing duplication. So really trying to look at opportunities where we can have fewer staff members doing the same tasks so that all of our staff can do more in supporting our communities. It is looking at increasing capacity for surges in demand, public health emergencies, incredibly important. We do great work supporting emergency response right across the region. When we look at evacuations, whether it's due to fires or floods, and we look at tremendous outbreaks, we're always able to respond and support those things. But quite often when you have smaller teams, what that means is other public health work isn't getting done. We have to prioritize emergencies. And so by having a greater capacity for surge response and to do this, the hope is that we see less impact on other programs and services when we are called on to respond to public health emergencies and urgent events across the region. It also helps us streamline back office processes to reinvest into local public health programming. It helps align geography with system partners. We worked very closely with all 9 school boards. We'd already shared 4 through COVID, and so able to really continue to strengthen those partnerships. And then preserve and enhance a skilled workforce. And we know this is a struggle and challenge all across the North. Public health isn't unique for that in any way, unfortunately. But the most important thing I think to keep in mind is that without merging, significant cuts were inevitable. Both health units were facing significant cuts if we did not merge. And so this opportunity has given us a tremendous ability to continue moving forward with the amazing team that we have. And we've seen and heard other health units across the province that have had to cut staff, that have had to decrease programs and services. And so this merger has been a really incredible opportunity to move forward across the region. Public health funding. So this is just a very high level one. I'm not going to get into a big budget discussion because I know that's to come in the new year, but just a really quick overview that as per the Health Protection and Promotion Act, municipalities are responsible for funding local public health. That's actually in the act, and it actually says the ministry may provide a grant. The good news is that the funding is still primarily through the ministry, through the province. The vast majority of funding for local public health is still provincially funded. They provide 100% funded programs, and then they also provide monies into the cost shared portion with municipalities. And that's where the levy comes from and supports the cost shared portion of public health programs and services locally. We're also incredibly fortunate to really benefit and work very closely with several other ministries, federal partners, local partners, and municipalities to contribute to public health programs and services. And we really capitalize on that as much as possible. It allows for some other unique opportunities that really speak to local needs across the region. And then one other important note is the ministry merger direction from the very beginning. And this was something that Dr. Corneal and I felt very strong about, and our boards likewise, that any merger savings were going to be reinvested into local public health. And most importantly, the merger was not about cutting program services or teams. We were really looking at strengthening and moving forward. So The next part from the ministry is that the merger is funded by the ministry. So the direct merger work has all been funded by the ministry. And it's also included really important opportunities for stabilization and extraordinary expenditures that would have otherwise had to go to the municipal cost shared portion of our budget. And some of those examples have included, an HVAC replacement. They've included IT upgrades that were needed. We've included vaccine fridges that were needed so we can support vaccines across the region. And when we look at what that was for 2024 and 2025, the merger funding came in that cost avoidance or budget mitigation for local municipalities was just over 2.7 million from the province to support the merger work and or these extraordinary expenses. And the levy harmonization was at 962,500. Coming together as NEF. So what does this look like? It's a lot of work. It's an incredible amount of work, and it's hard work. It's hard to change. It's hard to come together. We've got amazing team members right across the region, incredible expertise and experience, and it's just coming together and really connecting and looking at our opportunities to move forward. So we've had various in-person and virtual events to foster relationship building, collaboration, and connection amongst staff. We've had 2 in-person events, and we've had 3 virtual all-staff events that are on top of sort of our regular monthly virtual grand rounds for all staff. We've had many in-person team meetings throughout the region, and as the teams are starting to integrate and connect with one another and look at team integration and program integration, they've been meeting together in smaller groups. And to be honest, there's been a few, I didn't have the number for today, but there's been quite a few of them where the first team integration meeting happened in Kirkland Lake and really just trying to, move into different communities across the region. And so that's been a really good opportunity. Change management supports has been incredibly important. As I mentioned, we know that this is difficult. Even good change is always difficult, but it is so incredibly important and an amazing opportunity to strengthen public health across the region. So we've had a lot of external expertise for staff and leaders to support change management and well-being as we move through this. So we've had Leaders for Leaders. They've provided an in-person and then multiple change management sessions and skill building sessions for the team. We've had Clarity Counseling now looking at and providing wellness sessions for the team across the region. Jello and Associates did a session on respectful workplace training, and then ongoing communication with staff as well as municipalities, First Nations communities, and community partners. And we will be shortly releasing information about branding launch events in 2026. So really looking forward to coming and visiting communities and moving forward with those events to recognize the communities, our staff in the communities, the board members, and the partnerships that are so integral to public health. When we look at some of the just really high-level program highlights, we've done an amazing job with vaccine clinics this fall. I know the manager from New Liskeard has shared the vaccine clinics in the south were super successful in the month of October. So this is just for the month of October, almost 4,500 flu vaccines, over 2,700 COVID vaccines across the whole region, but really seeing increased numbers, and that's great to see. Baby Friendly Initiative was an infant feeding competency train the trainer workshop that we were able to hold, and this was supported with merger funding, just to flag. And this had staff and community partners right across the region participating and really looking at creating a network of local champions to work collaboratively to ensure consistent evidence-based care and stronger supports for families. So this was a really incredible opportunity afforded by the merger and really able to, expand that reach across the region. When we look at expanded reach, some of the opportunities that we've seen and really investing in the strengths from the teams from both prior health units, prenatal classes, we know there were excellent in-person opportunities previously. One health unit had done some virtual sessions previously, and so we were able to not only have the in-person that were always there, but expand the reach of virtual sessions so that individuals that maybe couldn't go in person or wouldn't want to go go in person right across the whole region could now attend virtual sessions as well. Building connections, social media campaigns. So again, that was something that one agency had taken the lead in more so before as well. And so we were able to really expand that reach across the region. And then likewise with webinars on concussion management and best practices. When we look at service enhancements, and these are just snippets, keep in mind, and we'll get there and they'll end up being more. We know a merger takes a lot of time and a lot of work, especially early on, but really proud of the small wins and the progress and positive moments that we've had. So one of the important items is we've got professionally contracted interpretation service, so more accessible, inclusive, and equitable care, really ensuring that we have Francophone translation and looking at supporting our Francophone community members more consistently is super important. Region-wide access to a lactation consultant. So this is enhancing clinical support to better serve families. And we've been able to strengthen the bandwidth for internet connection in the southern region offices, including Kirkland Lake. So that's super important in terms of not only, supporting the staff in their day-to-day work, but also how they're able to interact with communities and partners. When we look at that surge capacity, so that ability to respond to something and increase our staff capacity to respond to something, having larger teams is obviously a big part of that. When we look at infectious disease teams, environmental health, outbreak response, this is incredibly important, especially this time of year. We are seeing increasing numbers of flu across the province, also across the region. We do continue to see outbreaks being declared in institutions right across the region from COVID and influenza and RSV. Continue to get vaccinated, super important this year. We've already heard of some tragic outcomes across the province that we're really hoping to avoid. But having this increased team capacity available to do this work is important. Also, coverage to meet on-call accountabilities. As public health, we are accountable to have someone on call 24/7, a medical officer of health and a staff in order to respond to public health emergencies. And so that is incredibly important. And this is a good opportunity to support the whole region with a depth of the team. And we look at professional development and skill development. It's something we always want to prioritize. However, often funding has been a limiting factor, at least for Legacy Porcupine in the past. The merger funding has really enabled us to support greater opportunities for staff, skill development, professional development, and really looking at not only virtual sessions, but also traveling and attending, really good opportunities. Some of these things, and there's quite an extensive list, but we've done some media training, communications, cultural competency. We've had 80 staff now doing the Sanyas Indigenous cultural competency training, incredibly important. And really, it's required for all staff, but really looking forward to continuing work there. Continuous quality improvement training in Sudbury, perinatal mental health. And we've done training for small drinking water systems. And I think there was also a recreational pool session as well, but there's a lot covering many topics. When we look at some of the next steps and where we're going, the Ontario Public Health Standards are anticipated to be released sometime in the new year. We were looking for January 1st. There's slight delay, so we're just waiting, but the teams have been able to start looking at some of the draft documents and do some programming assessments and look at what the plans might be for the future to address the Ontario Public Health Standards, which are our accountabilities, the board's accountabilities to the ministry for providing services in each community. We're going to be looking at a strategic plan. Our first one is NEF, and so obviously there will be significant engagement with municipalities, with community partners coming forth with that, and really looking forward to those opportunities and seeking further engagement. Communications, we're working with a marketing firm, and they've been supporting us throughout, but we will be looking at our social media strategy as well as website development. We'll have an interim website next year, and then looking at the more significant long-term website development. And then, as mentioned previously, branding launch and 1-year celebration. So we'll be planning open house events across the region in each community in the new year. And so there'll be more information and invitations coming out for that. And I think the most important thing is sort of amidst all these little snippets and tidbits of things that we're doing and all of the day-to-day public health work that's so incredibly important in supporting our communities and really trying to promote health and well-being and protect the health of our population, is that all the decisions with respect to the merger and where we're going and the types of things that we're doing on a day-to-day are really taken with the lens of how do we strengthen and ensure the longevity of public health in our region for years to come. We are fortunate to experience some of the poorest health outcomes in most indicators across the province. We know our population faces significant inequities, and so there's a lot of work to do. And the team is definitely up for the challenge. They are an incredible group of experts with a depth of experience that our communities are very fortunate to have, and we look forward to continued work with yourselves as the town of Kirkland Lake and all the other municipalities to continue this work, and really looking at the opportunities to strengthen the health of our communities in the future. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate your time, and I do appreciate that you came. This is the first time, and we look forward to hearing from you again, like you said, during the budget process and moving into the future as well. I think it's really important that we continue this open and transparent communication between our NEF and our community as well through our council. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Chabot.
To you, Madam Mayor, to the
Dr. Catton.
Dr. Catton. Yeah, it's nice to see you. We met at last phenomenon in Sudbury, and the question that I had at the time, I was going to follow up, but the time didn't allow me to follow up. But I'm going to go to this question, maybe something that you can maybe address now or later on. I hope that with this merger, I hope that we'll keep the services that we've got. I'm hoping that we do, including our building on Station Road. I hope we'll keep that. And if we get expansion in services, that would be nice. And also hope that we have some of the services that we've lost over a period of time maybe come back. One of them, to me, would be travel vaccine. I mean, people travel a lot nowadays. I know your job is, well, the health unit, the way I understand it is mostly prevention, but prevention is better than cure. So we have people traveling nowadays. We don't have to be a lot of money or anything to travel for vacation and whatnot. They could possibly well come back with something that may be contagious if they don't have a proper travel vaccine. At the moment, before we used to get that in Kirkland Lake, all of a sudden we do not. So right now we have to travel to Sudbury. It was Timmins before, then now it is Sudbury. For me, there's a value in having these services back at whatever that cost might be, because if anybody can afford to travel to Aruba or Jamaica, I'm sure they can afford to pay a little bit more at the health unit for this vaccine. Right now, in our area, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know people, you have to go to Sudbury, which should be the nearest place to get that if you need to travel outside the country. Or you can just say, well, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to take my chances and go. But then again, doing that, when they come back with something and it's somehow contagious, then someone else will be affected. And again, that is not very helpful to the public health. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Sorry,
The question got lost.
The question is that something that we may see in future back in as part of the expanded services, or is something that we will not see? So that's the question.
Thank you for that. I don't know if you're able to answer that tonight,
Yeah,
Doctor,
that's
but
fine.
if you care to respond.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Mayor White. Thank you, Councillor Chavez. And definitely, as we discussed then, I believe, the full intention is to maintain services and programs and staffing in communities. That's incredibly important. That is why we did this. So the merger, again, was the intention, and the intention continues to be to strengthen those opportunities. What I will say, and I've been very upfront about this with the board, with municipalities, and with the staff, is that this is always contingent on funding. And so the merger is an incredibly important opportunity that we've had to have expanded funding, and really looking at what that funding looks like in the future as we go forward. It always is contingent on that. But the merger itself is really looking at opportunities to strengthen and maintain the teams and the offices that we have in the future. In terms of services, in terms of the vaccine one, really good example. This has been a difficult decision that actually I had to make at Porcupine. I'm not sure when it was made at prior to Miskaming. The Ontario Public Health Standards changed in about 2018, and travel vaccine clinics were removed as a part of the accountabilities for local public health. And I completely understand the concern and sort of the questions around the travel, and definitely framed it in terms of, people that could come back. I think the challenge that always comes about is having the staff capacity to be able to do that, and really looking at those opportunities. So those decisions were not made as part of the merger. That was a decision prior to the merger, just to be really clear about that. And it was reflective of the standards. And it's exactly right. I mean, it's something that, we were doing. We weren't doing it very often because sometimes people would come in just every now and then for certain vaccines. So you're looking at keeping vaccine available. You're looking at keeping staff standards up. And really, at the end of the day, for the vast majority of the area, we are the sole provider in some communities of COVID-19 vaccine. In some areas, we do the majority of influenza vaccine. In some communities, we actually do the majority of vaccines altogether. And so it's really working with communities to see what those other opportunities might be. And so I think we've really shifted to focus on the childhood vaccine schedule and making sure that we're doing that, making sure we have the respiratory season vaccine capacity available. So I hear you. That is how this decision was made at the time. And I know for a lot of health units, I think that was one that ended up across the north that did end up being removed and separated. There are opportunities for physicians to take this on and for pharmacies to take this on. So just putting a plug that there's other opportunities, but definitely hear you with respect to that. And we'll see what the future brings, but I have to be honest that I can't promise. And that's not one that I foresee with the other vast amounts of work that I really feel we need to focus on. But thank you for the feedback. It is important to hear. I value it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding the merger update? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship, and I hope this is not an unfair question, but you have to remember that I am representing people in Kirkland Lake. So that's where the question's coming from. Are we going to keep the jobs that we currently have in Kirkland Lake? And is that building going to stay open for sure? Because it is a visual setting. It's something important to the community. And of course, the jobs are very important to the community, and the jobs represent service. I know the goal is not to reduce service in Kirkland Lake, and I'm speaking wider than the health unit now, but over the years that I've lived in Kirkland Lake, I've seen service after service after service leave town and go to larger communities. And that's what scares me with this merger, is that we're going to see a centralization of services in a bigger community. So do we have assurances that that won't happen, or am I asking an unfair question?
Yeah, you may go ahead. Sorry, Doctor.
Thank you, through you, Mayor White. Thank you, Councillor Owen. And I completely understand this question, where you're coming from, and it is not unique to Kirkland Lake. We've heard it right across the region, and it is a concern for staff and communities. And I agree with you, it always is, and that's right across the north for any services you mentioned or sort of program area that might be there. There has never been a plan to reduce offices or staff. As mentioned, when we started this process, we were really clear with the board, with the ministry, that this wasn't a look to cut staff, that we actually need all the bodies and expertise that we have in order to strengthen. We're already shorter than we want or need to be across the north. There is too much work to do, even with the merged group as we have it. So we very much want everyone to remain at this point in time, for sure. And there's no plans to do anything different with that. What I will say, and as you mentioned, sort of, can I give you assurances or guarantees? I wish I could, but I have no idea what the future brings for funding for public health. We're waiting for a review from the ministry with respect to what that cost shared, what will public health funding for the sector look like in 2027. So a lot of it will depend on that. But as part of the merger and as part of the direction, local public health is incredibly important because we have those local connections on the ground, right? It's great, and it's important for me and the rest of our team members to get to know and build relationships with partners like yourselves in Kirkland Lake. But it is really critical that we have an amazing team on the ground in Kirkland Lake that knows the community, that has those connections, that can speak for the community, that can speak for public health, and that can be there, during times of need. So that is incredibly important and valued. So I hope that helps.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Nothing else noted. Thank you again for your time. Council, all in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Item number 7, approval and acceptance of minutes. 7.1, council minutes, moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Kylie.
Be it resolved, the council for the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 2nd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. 7.2, local and regional board minutes, moved by Councillor Ranger and seconded by Councillor Shaba.
Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the Kirkland Lake District Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors held November 10th, 2025, minutes of the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board held October 16th, 2025, and minutes of the District of Community and Social Services Administration Board of Directors held October 15th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 8, reports from municipal officers and staff. 8.1, proposed civic awards policy. This will be presented by Alan Smith, CAO, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 CAO 15 entitled Proposed Civic Awards Policy be received, and that council approve the civic awards policy as presented, and finally that the policy be numbered and inserted into the corporate policy manual.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. In April of this year, council resolved to develop a formalized system to officially recognize people of Kirkland Lake who contribute to the pride of our community through their actions, contributions, or achievements. The report before council today provides members with a proposed policy for a civic awards program that addresses this council resolution. The Civic Awards program is a way to promote civic pride, encourage ongoing community involvement, and celebrate individuals and organizations whose efforts reflect municipalities' good as gold spirit. In other words, the Civic Awards program is intended to acknowledge achievements, volunteerism, leadership, and acts of service that have positively impacted the town. The proposed policy introduces 4 award categories that reflect a broad range of community excellence. They are Adolescents Rising Star Award. This is for individuals under 18 years old. Achievement in Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics, or STEAM for short. Volunteer and Community Service Award, and the Heart of Gold Lifetime Achievement Award, which is the Mayor's Award. There will be a public call for nominations annually from April 1st to April 30th, accepting nominations for contributions made during the previous calendar year. An awards selection panel, which will be formed by the CAO, and will review all eligible submissions with recommendations sent to council, with presentations to award winners in June. It should be noted that the Heart of Gold Lifetime Achievement Award will be determined solely by the mayor. Now, this is common practice for municipalities with civic awards to have a quote-unquote mayor's award, which is determined by the mayor. By adopting this proposed civic awards policy reinforces the town's commitment to civic pride, public service, and community engagement.
Counselor Kylie?
Through you, your worship, I'm particularly pleased that we're coming up with this program, because I recall, might have been the previous council or the one before, I approached council to recognize 3 individuals for bringing the person back to life that had passed out and had a heart attack, and they came through. It was a minor miracle, and I got told by council that we couldn't do it. I went ahead and did it anyway, and got chastised a bit. But I see this program as being very important for pride within the community and identifying our residents who go above and beyond. So this is nice to see. I fully support this.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing further? All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 8.2, strong mayor budget process. This will be presented by Lloyd Crawford, treasurer, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Resolved that report number 2025-31 entitled Strong Mayor Budget Process be received for information.
Welcome, you may proceed.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the council. You have a report in front of you, which is essentially similar to reports we've had in the past when we lay out the budget process and timelines, expected timelines. This does the same thing, but under the strong mayor powers, there's some significant differences. Many of these timelines are now kind of written in stone, pending the presentation of the budget. The opportunities for council and the mayor to go back and forth is significantly less by volume anyways than it has been in the past. There's a very good, in the attachment, there's an excellent kind of decision tree to kind of lay out how the process, we follow through the process with some expected timelines. For the most part, this will be very similar to what we've done in the past. There'll be fewer opportunities to amend the budget, but there's designated opportunities to amend the budget, and also for the mayor to veto amendments and for council to override those vetoes should everybody choose to go that route. Timelines wise, we could end up from January 27th is when we're going to present the budget. And from that point on, depending on whether council chooses, so they're in the appendix, you'll see there's 30 days for opportunity for council to amend the budget. Council also has the opportunity at that point to choose a shorter timeline than 30 days to provide amendments. And depending on whether you choose a shorter or 30 days, and then again, once the amendments come in, assuming amendments, there will be 10 days after that for the mayor to either accept or veto the amendments. And after that, there's another 15 days opportunity for council to override any vetoes. At any point in time, if there is no amendments, there's no vetoes, then the budget is deemed approved at that point in time. It does not require a separate approval process by council. And that could happen anytime. We put in some kind of possible ranges for the budget. So if we shorten up the timelines quite a bit and there's not much by way of amendments, we could be having a deemed accepted budget as early as February 11th. If everybody takes the maximum amount of time that's allotted to them under the to strong mayor's powers, we could end up as far out as March 23rd. Still significantly earlier than what we've done in the past. So in that sense, we're shooting for something much better. I guess at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions related to this.
Any questions or comments from members of council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir. Item 8.3, proposed amendment to compensation and pay equity policy annual salary adjustment methodology. This will also be presented by Alan Smith, the CAO, moved by Councillor Shabazz, seconded by Councillor Cryden.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 CAO 16 entitled Proposed Amendment to Compensation and Pay Equity Policy Annual Salary Adjustment Methodology be received, and that council approve amendments to sections 753 and 754 of Compensation and Pay Equity Policy as presented and effective January 1st, 2026, and that non-union employees' annual salaries be increased by 3% for 2026, and finally, that the updated policy be inserted into the corporate policy manual.
May proceed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. Last year, council approved the compensation and pay equity policy, which included a change from adjusting non-union salaries annually by mirroring the percentage increases negotiated by QP26 to a consumer price index methodology based on the July figure. Now, this new approach was intended to provide a timely submission for budget preparation, provide predictability and a clear external benchmark, and neutrality during QP26 negotiations. In retrospect, the approach has proven less effective. It does not adequately reflect broader labor market realities, nor does it account for union settlements or recruitment and retention pressures. If the current policy were to stand based on the July CPI figures, non-union employees would receive a 1.7% wage increase for 2026. This is below the 2.5% increase received by non-union employees in 2025, and well below recent negotiated collective agreements, with QP26, for example, being the most recent settlement at 3.25% for each of the next 3 years. In order to reduce the inequality that is resulting from the current policy, namely in section 7.5.3 and 7.5.4, changes have been proposed. What is proposed is having the CAO report to council by August of each year with a recommended percentage wage increase for non-union employees. This approach is not tied directly with one union, not based on a single figure. This multi-factor approach provides council with a comprehensive picture of the pressures influencing compensation. This proposed approach allows council to weigh union settlements, CPI averages, market surveys, and organizational data together, ensuring decisions are transparent, balanced, and responsive to both fiscal realities and workplace needs. For 2026, administration is then recommending a 3% increase to non-union employee wages. This adjustment of 3%, which represents approximately 0.5% increase over the year 2025, aligns more closely with union settlements while still maintaining fiscal responsibility. This incremental adjustment demonstrates a balanced approach, modestly higher than 2025 to reflect market pressures, but not exceeding the negotiated union increases. This adjustment to the policy is not made. The wage adjustment for 2026 would be 1.7% for non-union employees, which will result in inequality within staffing compensation. By adopting proposed changes to the compensation pay equity policy, council will be promoting equality and have a compensation policy that speaks to the town's objective of becoming an employer of choice. And now I'd just like to ask Director McCart just to add any more comments that I may have.
I do apologize. Welcome.
That's all right. CAO Smith did a very good job, and through you, Madam Mayor, to council. I'll just add a few more points. It should be noted that the 5 year previous to that, we did follow the QP26, and it was 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. So at that point, the CPI over that time period was 17% compared to 9%. So that's why a lot of the agreements have been coming up with a little higher rates to make up for that difference. Just to note, it does bring into account approximately 108 non-union employees, 53 full-time and approximately 55 part-time. That does float up and down, so it is a pretty good amount of people being affected by this. So we do recommend.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of council? None noted, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8.4, 2025 reserve funds and year-end transfers. This again will be presented by Lloyd Cropper, our treasurer. Moved by Councillor Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Janice Ranger.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-32 entitled 2025 reserve funds and year-end transfers be received. And finally, the council direct the treasurer to complete the following transfers related to the 2025 fiscal year end. 1, any net revenues from sundry land sales to the Community Improvement Program Reserve. 2, any net revenues from the sale of land located on Archer Drive to the Archer Drive Reserve Fund. 3, any net revenues from the lease of the daycare building on Queen Street to Daycare Reserve. 4, any winter control surplus, an example, actual expenses less than budget, to the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve. 5, any operating surplus to the Reserve for Working Capital. 6, any surplus in waterworks to the Waterworks Reserve Fund. 7, any surplus in wastewater to the Wastewater Reserve Fund. 8, any unspent portion of tax levy dollars for 2025 capital projects to the Infrastructure Capital Reserve. 9, amounts from the Infrastructure Capital Reserve to fund any overspent portion of capital projects, excluding waterworks and wastewater capital projects completed in 2025, where no alternative source of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in that reserve. 10, amounts from the Waterworks Reserve Fund to fund any overspent portion of waterworks capital projects completed in 2025, where no alternative sources of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in that reserve fund. 11, amounts from the Wastewater Reserve Fund to fund any overspent portion of wastewater capital projects completed in 2025, where no alternative source of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in the reserve fund. 12, any operating surplus from municipal accommodation tax activities to the MAD Reserve Fund. And 13, any refund of workplace safety and insurance board to the Tax Stabilization Reserve.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Madam Mayor, through the council. In the report, you'll see basically the same list as the clerk just read off. There's a couple of additions to that, and I'd like to make a couple of comments. So under the municipal budgeting law related to that, if you run a surplus in any particular or a deficit, the immediate effect is you're supposed to make up or draw down in the following year from your tax levy to compensate for that. This report and the recommendation is to give us some leeway to identify changes that happen through the normal operating processes of the town. Sometimes things come in a little bit heavier than they did in the budgets, or sometimes they're even a little bit later. This kind of gives us some room to do that. It lets us put some funding away associated with the asset management plan for water and wastewater in particular. The winter control, it's one of our I'll call them more up and down type of budgets. It's fairly stable, but we all know if you have a bad winter, the costs are going to skyrocket. So that reserve is there to try and compensate for that. And the two new ones in particular. So number 12, it's the MAD tax, which you're all aware of. We've talked about extensively. This is just to basically make sure that it's clearly identified that any surpluses in the MAD tax will be going into a reserve fund until such time they're either drawn down by budget or by council motion itself. The second one is a good news story in the sense that WSIB has contacted us and indicated that we'll be getting a very large refund, over $400,000. And that's an experience type refund. So basically we're not burdening the system anywhere near the amount that we're being charged. So they refunded. It's 2 years of surplus. We're going to put it into that tax stabilization reserve for now until such time as council or staff come up with some use for it as it stands. It's across the board type of increase, so that's why we picked the tax stabilization reserve. It kind of applies to the whole corporation, kind of fits in that particular area. I think that's most of what I wanted to point out. I'd be happy to answer questions at this point.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. I see that, like Matt is a reserve fund, Water is reserve fund. The tax stabilization just says reserve. So is it a reserve as opposed to a reserve fund, which means it's easier to use? For other things?
Councillor Owen. The ease of using the reserve versus the reserve fund isn't any different. The most significant difference between a reserve and a reserve fund is whether or not we keep the cash segregated associated with the decision. Council always has the opportunity to move dollars in and out of both reserves and reserve funds. The reserve funds, like I said, are actual cash put aside, whereas the reserves is just an allocation of our surplus, our ongoing surplus in the corporation. It's a small and seemingly subtle difference, but reserve funds earn their own interest, so they can go up on their own without any action by staff or council. They just earn interest sitting in a reserve fund investment account, whereas reserves just sit stagnant depending on budget and council.
Follow up?
Do you, your worship, is there a reason that one's a reserve as opposed to reserve fund? Is there like a benefit to the town to do that?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. There's no particular benefit. I guess it's more a case of we don't expect that to be, when we identify reserve funds, we're talking more pointed type of items. You know, so the MAT taxes are very clear where it came from, where it's supposed to be going. This one, it's a reserve because we're really not sure how the tax stabilization reserve is going to be used in the future. We have a pretty good idea. The idea is to keep tax rates down, but it isn't restricted to keeping tax rates down. So that's, you know, it's kind of the simple version of why we picked between the two.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing further? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8.5, proposed 2026-2027 fire and emergency services fees and charges. This will be presented by Earl Gregg, Director of Emergency Services, and our fire chief. Moved by Councillor Pat Kiley and seconded by Councillor Rickle.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 FES 2 entitled Proposed 2026-2027 Fire and Emergency Services Fees and Charges be received, that a public meeting be held on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026 at 4:50 p.m. and finally that the proposed 2026-2027 Fire and Emergency Services Fees and Charges by law as presented be brought forward for 3 readings on January 6th, 2026.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Through you, Madam Mayor. This is more of a housekeeping item that was brought forward because our current fees and charges were slated as calendar years in the current schedule. The schedule has now been updated to the 26-27. Modest changes throughout the columns. Not everything went up. We just looked at what would be fair to try to recoup some of the costing of the municipality. There's, I don't think there was any shockers for the slight dollar amounts that we increased. In talking to some of the other municipalities, a little further south to North Bay and a little bit beyond, our one area that I did notice that we were lacking that we're going to try to catch up on would be fire safety plans. Talking to a consultant that's doing one for a local building in town, and they contacted the department for the cost of the review of the permit and plans review. And I gave her the current costing, She was very surprised because the municipality she's from was 6 times as much. So we do have some room to play catch up, and I hope through a couple of years we can get to where would be fair. Other than that, I haven't opened any questions and we can go from there.
Questions or comments? Councillor Shabba?
Yeah, through you, your worship. Chief, can you explain this, the fee, the table? I just want to understand it very well. Burning without a permit. So all of that will apply. Like first warning issue, no charge. Second clause, will all of that apply?
So,
How would that work? So you caught someone burning without a permit, you warn them and they still have to pay, and then they pay all of this other stuff? How does it work? Yes.
through you, Madam Mayor. So the first offense is just a warning. And then for reoccurrences of the same property and the same person, these would be the maximum penalties we'd be looking for. And it's really, if there's compliance, like our goal is 100% compliance. And just come to the fire station, get a permit. That's all we're asking. But if it gets to the point where they become belligerent to the staff, maybe it escalates that the police have to get involved, that's when we're really gonna have to look at a monetary penalty to deter this. And I'm glad to say in the time that I've been here, we've never laid a charge of this for burning. They've always been very compliant. It's just so people know that there is a point where it could become a cost.
Please, your worship. First offense, no charge. You just still have to pay for the permit because they didn't want to, you caught them, you still have to pay for the permit. Or no, you just warn them and say, don't do that again.
So through you, Madam Mayor, if they comply, they come to get a permit. Currently, the permits are free. But once we do start charging the fee, then yes, we require them to pay the fee to purchase a permit.
Anything further from members of council? Councillor Dykens?
Thank you through you, Mayor, to the fire chief. Just for interest sake, all of the amounts went up like a little bit, and there's one that went down. And I think I remember the history of it, but the municipal residential outdoor wood burning appliance permit went down $5. Well, proposed for 2026. Just curious.
So through you, Madam Mayor, because we turned down the proposed burning bylaw last year that had the nominal fee of $20 attached to it, we're going to restart at the 2024 rate of the $15. We currently don't charge for the permit.
For
The municipal residential outdoor burning.
currently don't.
We currently do
Sorry.
not, because we didn't pass the bylaw last year.
Okay, so that's, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, that's what's throwing me off. It said that we were charging in 2025, we were charging $20. But you're saying we didn't pass that?
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. It was in our fees and services charges,
Okay,
but because we didn't pass our burn bylaw
okay.
to adopt that charge, we never did charge last year. It was all free.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. I'm looking at demolition permit, which has got me confused. I don't know why that is in the fire department and not the building department.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Because we're the experts on hazardous materials, we really should be going through these properties to ensure that, one, we're not causing damage to the environment and the municipality. If we are forced to clean up a property and we neglect the fact that we look in to see what the hazard was and we create a chemical spill, the municipality then becomes liable. So we're just looking for a little cost recovery for the staff.
I knew there'd be an explanation.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted? All in favor? Opposed? Sorry, I thought you may have had a question. Carried unanimous. Item 8.6, Voyant Alert Community Notification System Implementation. This is also Fire Chief and Director of Emergency Services Earl Gregg, moved by Councillor Owens, Casey Owens, seconded by, Councillor Shaba.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 FES 3 entitled Voyant Alert Community Notification System Implementation be received, and that council sanction the use of the Voyant Alert Community Notification System and its implementation in the jurisdiction of the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake, and that council authorizes CAO and the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief to execute the necessary licensing and extension agreements surrounding the Voyant Alert Community Notification System, and finally that an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on December 16th, 2025, in accordance with subsection 22IB of the town's notice policy.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. You may go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Council. So the Voyant Alert program, that we were searching for a program that would better ensure communication with our community. Currently, right now, we use the POC, so the Provincial Emergency Communication Center. And if they do a notification for the municipality, takes us, the quickest we can get it is probably about 30 to 40 minutes. So that time could cost us a lot in 30 or 40 minutes. With the Voyant Alert app, it's catered to us to get as much information to the community as we possibly can, as quick as we can. Through the app system, it's free for people to sign up. It's totally voluntary. You can set this system up so it's completely blind, that we don't know who you are. It's just a phone number that shows up. All your information is totally private. It never gets shared with any other platform or service. So there's no worry about you're going to start getting spammed. The nice, easy opt with this is you'll only get the notification if you're in the zone that's affected. So currently with the POC system, as we know, if it's an amber alert that goes out, basically everybody gets that alert, and it could be from Hamilton and you're getting in Kirkland Lake. So it's what, 6 hours? This is actually narrowed down that we can do pretty much street by street notification. So only the people that, when you sign up, you drop a PIN. So the PIN could be your house, your work, your kid's school, daycare. It's unlimited with the amount of pins that you could drop onto the mapping, and that's your pins. The only time you're going to get a notification if something happens in one of the zones that you have a pin dropped. Other than that, you wouldn't get a critical information that there's a possible house fire in Chappie Hughes if you live in the federal area. So it cuts down a lot of misinformation that would go out. And also, you can pick and choose. So if you want to know about the garbage disruption, if you love going to the rec center and you like to go swimming, and if there's something that happens at the rec center, they can blast information out. And because you've only signed up to certain aspects of it, you would only get that information. So we're just trying to be very transparent to the municipality and the people, and try to cater to give them as much current and live information as possible. We do have a slight PowerPoint that we can, it's only a few slides, that we can talk about it. So if the clerk would go ahead. So KL Alerts is how we branded it. You'll see we've used our own color scheme and logos to try to keep it. So everything you see, there is a spot on our town website that will become active. And it's on the main page with a little exclamation mark. You click on it, it'll take you right to the Voyant site. It'll say if there's any current alerts in the municipality and give you real-time data that's loaded up. So there's not really a big drag. We're still going to use our current methods, but this just more streamlines and helps out people to, again, stay better informed. And because you may miss that news blast at the top of the hour from the radio station. We're just, again, more information is better for people. So again, our challenges is time and resources, because we want to get the information out as quick as we can, and costing too. This is a very robust system with the least amount of costing to the municipality. So we're just under $5,000 taxes annually, and we have predetermined that through the fire department budgeting. So it's already in place. We're trying to eliminate gaps in coverage. So again, with the POC system, it's such a wide range. There's hits and misses all the time in it. So we're trying to streamline to Kirkland Lake proper. And again, because of the gaps in the current system, that's why we're not satisfied. And I don't think we're getting enough information out to the municipality. It's a reliable system. People can, if you're traveling, you're coming up for a Skidoo weekend in Kirkland Lake, you can hop onto Voyant, sign in to, oh, I'm staying at the Travel Lodge or the Microtel, and that's your home for the weekend, and you'll get any notices that affect that area. Once you leave the municipality, you can unsubscribe, and you won't get any of the bothersome notices that you would with any other kind of an app. So it's very tailored to the user, and to try to make it as most user-friendly as we can. And this one seemed to be the best fit for us. Next slide, please. So again, it's emergency and getting the information out as quick as we can. So we can do road closures. If we have a busted water main in town, we can do a quick boil water advisory for public works, the day-to-day communications, garbage disruptions, snow plowing. And again, you can sign up for any of these sections when you go into Voyant to set up the app. So we're trying to tailor it so it's easy for you, so you don't get bombarded with a bunch of spam emails, text messaging of stuff that really doesn't have any concern. So we've just found this is the best option for us. Next slide, please. So a bit more, so it's multi-purpose, so it's text messaging, emails, it'll do text to voice. So you can call your home phone line if you choose. You don't have a cell phone, you don't have a computer. Again, it's catered to the user, and it's very simple to set up. And it's focused on the communities. We're using the geofencing of our CGIS system. So it is to Kirkland Lake proper on CGIS. So again, on the left-hand side, it's more of how we want to get information out to the public. And then, so the onset of the emergency, the duration of the emergency, things may change. We may have to adapt and shift. And then we switch into the recovery of the problem. So it's more just to keep that information rolling. And I think the more transparent the department is, the better off the community will feel. And again, you can have alerts, emergencies. It's a very robust system, but it's not too cumbersome for the user or the administrator to use. And then the day-to-day, like I said, it's the road closures, if we have a fire ban, we can blast out there's a fire ban in the municipality, water advisories, any kind of public notice. Heaven forbid we have an incident like a match casualty where we put a notice out. But it's flexible that we can, no problem would be too great for it to handle. That would be the biggest thing. And again, here's into the delivery of it. So it's an app-based program, but again, like I said, it does texting, emails, voice to landline. and the social media. So we'll self-populate. Once we put a broadcast out, it'll actually go to our website, for the town, and you'll get live up-to-date information in that way. It's very simple. Christie, the alternate CMC, has my computer set up, and probably with 3 or 4 minutes, you could generate the message and broadcast it out. And it's such a user-friendly option that there's no big lag in it. There's no delay in public notification. It's just, yeah. Again, privacy. So again, it's an anonymous registry, so we don't need to know your name or any of your particulars. There is a two-factor authentication, so it can't be like a robot that gets in and hacks in to break any information. We are both federal and provincial compliant, and the PETA compliance for information. So it's very secure that way. And again, it's very user-friendly. Any questions that I get answer?
Councillor Kylie?
Yeah, to you, your worship. Does the fire department administer the program? Because I see we got different alerts from different departments. So who's gonna be in charge of this?
So through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Kylie. Currently, there's a total of 5 administrative licenses that would be involved. So the clerk's office will hold a license, the fire department, public works, the rec complex, TPR. So if TPR had an outbreak, then they could broadcast just to their TPR families. And that, oh, by the way, we're in an outbreak, so it's mask protocols. And that's so they can sort of tailor the messaging. And again, it's live messaging to their.
So each department basically can look after their own administration.
Yes.
Input.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Any other comments or questions from members of council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Moving on, item 8.7, small flock hens. This will be delivered by Dan Labrador, Director of Development and Enterprise Services, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 DEV 36 entitled Small Flock Hens be received for information.
Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening to you, Madam Mayor, and council. Before you, I have a report on small flock hens. If you remember, in May 2024, a petition and group had approached council regarding the interest. The report provides an overview of the growing interest in keeping backyard hens in Canadian municipality. Tonight we're focusing on Kirkland Lake. Public engagement. Public survey was conducted in December, earlier in December of this year, attracting 389 responses. Of these, 253 participants expressed support for allowing backyard hens on residential properties within the town of Kirkland Lake. Just some regulatory and operational considerations. Currently, roughly 20 Ontario municipalities permit backyard hens. Typically under regulations that limit the number of hens, prohibit roosters, setting minimum distances from adjacent properties, and govern coop maintenance, waste disposal, and prohibition of commercial use or on-site slaughter services. In the research that the department undertook, some key challenges that were identified, I will go through them in a brief manner. Noise and odor. Obviously that is a large one. Hens can generate noise and manure, potentially impacting neighbors' enjoyment of their property if coops are not properly maintained. Pests, Chickens may attract predators and pests, coyotes, bears, rabbits, posing risks to property and public health, especially in our geographical area with the problems that we have existing at different times of the year. A large one is disease transmission. So backyard poultry can transmit diseases such as salmonella, avian influenza to humans and other animals, and currently limited public awareness and biosecurity measures heighten these risks currently. On an enforcement side, common complaints in other municipalities that we researched, noise, odor, unsightly coops, and the issues with animal welfare. Additional enforcement would be required to address all of these issues. Unwanted poultry was another item that came back. When hens are no longer productive, owners may abandon or surrender them, increasing the burden on animal control services here in Kirkland Lake. Staffing and resources. Currently, our staffing levels would be insufficient to manage the anticipated increase in workload. Adding services would require more personnel at a higher cost. We have currently one bylaw officer servicing the entire town and one animal control personnel contracted service. Under just some financial implications, permitting backyard hens would necessitate changes to the zoning and the animal control bylaws, additional administrative and enforcement resources, and a possible increase in contracted costs. Right now, without boosting current staff levels, enforcement of the existing bylaw would suffer. Just in conclusion, while the public feedback demonstrates support for backyard hens, the report highlights significant operational, health, and enforcement challenges, and careful consideration and further detailed analysis would be needed before any permissive action would be taken. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things. First of all, I didn't even know the survey happened, and I was surprised that that many people responded and favorably. I'm just curious about that. Also, can we confirm that the 350 people who say they reside in town of Kirkland Lake, are they different people, or have people, were people able to do it more than once using different emails or whatever? I'm just wondering about the process.
Yeah, through Madam Mayor. When you do a public survey, that is an area where you always run into an issue if you're not collecting people's names and data. So when you run a generic, they can answer yes or no. We have to take the advice of how they answered correctly and honestly, but you can run into duplication for sure.
Councillor Ranger?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's the statement. I think is my feeling only that those that currently are not following the law will continue to do so, like that we currently don't have a bylaw to approve poultry in the community, and those people need to be addressed, and that if you live in a community, a larger community, that is just something that at least in our Northern Ontario community, we can't see is a feasible service that we can manage. We're looking at decreasing services that are not required because of the costs involved, and this is just not one that I think is feasible for us to add the burden onto the bylaw officer, the animal control contract that we have. So unfortunately, this is something that somebody in a municipality wants to do. They may have to look at purchasing lands or other resources outside of our municipality. But those are my comments. Thank you.
Councillor Kylie?
To you, your worship. I have some experience, I won't say who, but a relative of mine has, has chickens next door to them. And there is a problem with the odor, no question. And foxes coming around, killing the hens, and they're always around. To put our bylaw enforcement people involved in this, I think there's enough work for them in town that they're overwhelmed, to begin with derelict buildings and whatnot. I can't support this. Thank you.
Councillor Dykens and then Councillor Shabbat.
Thank you, Mayor White. I agree with Councillor Ranger. I think there's too many concerns, too many challenges that we're trying to decrease unnecessary services, and I'm not sure how we could manage this. There's too many challenges at this point.
Thank you. Councillor Shabbat.
Yeah, to your worship, to the director. Another point that is not here, maybe it is there, I just can't see it, would be the landlords. You know, especially landlords that rent a whole house with backyard. So this bylaw here, I mean, to be an issue. I know it's for information today, not for us to vote on. That's what it says. We received
Yes,
information.
it's for information only.
For information only. I then you plan to do more weekends future to send it to us. I don't know, but I'm not in favor. If you're a landlord, and then you have this bylaw that goes through. So your tenant is to tell you I can do that, but the bylaw lets me, even though as a landlord, you may not consent to that. So that's another angle that I'm looking at it from. And the other points that you raised there, though, yeah, they're really a strong point because you have a neighbor that lives next to someone that has all this hands running around with odors and noise and all of that other thing. You appreciate that. So.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Owens.
It's just a question of procedure. So this is for information. However the vote goes, does it stop it dead in its tracks? Or does it open up another, like if this was to pass, does it go on to the next step?
So
I want to make sure before I vote on this one, that I'm not going to be the face of this again, like the last report we had.
Valid point. This is for information only with no further direction. If a member of council wishes to do anything about this issue, it's like anything else, they can bring a notice of motion separate, but this tonight is for information purposes only. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, worship. I have a cottage in the bush and I have a house in town. I've seen more bears on my property in town and more fox on my street in town than I have in the bush where my cottage is. The last thing I want to see is more bear and more wildlife in my yard. The other thing, I'm very familiar with people who have quite severe breathing issues. Okay, my father was one of those people. They can only go outside on certain days when the air is clear and clean enough for them to enjoy, to be able to breathe, not just to enjoy, but to be able to breathe. And I know most people wouldn't think of it, but if you've got chickens in your neighbor's next yard, you could be stopping someone from going on there to get some outside time. And that is a very real concern that I have as well. And if I wanted to live on a farm, I would have bought a house in the country. So that's kind of the end thing for me.
Councillor Ranger.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm gonna put this on ask the director, but he might not be, it may go to Jen. To be clear, as it stands right now, without a bylaw permitting poultry or hens in our municipality, it is currently illegal, correct, to have hens in the community.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Yes.
Thank you.
Follow up, sorry, Counselor Shava?
Yeah, through you, your worship, I don't think, well, I have my own experience, I'm not gonna say anything more because, you know, if you say it's illegal, but we have a few cases in town where people have all these things anyways, maybe their grandfather or whatnot. I mean, I have my own, you know, I have a practical experience, we're going through this and where I live almost every day, for the last 20-something, 30 years. So I'm not too sure, but when you say it's illegal, illegal going forward or illegal from way back, or I don't get that.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Director Lavender.
Through you, Madam Mayor. We currently in the town of Kirkland Lake have dog and cat licenses. Anyone that doesn't purchase a dog and cat license is outside and is subject to a fine. This would be no different. In the town of Kirkland Lake, we currently do not have a poultry or any fowl bylaw. So if caught on a complaints basis, they are subject to a fine. No different than an animal, a dog or a cat currently.
Counselor Kylie?
To you, your worship, I agree, there's no bylaw enforcement of this happening, because there's a number of people that have chickens in their backyard. It's pretty hard for the bylaw enforcement officer. I question how many complaints we get, but probably very few, because it's your neighbor and you put up with the nonsense and you don't like it, but
Yeah.
they don't say anything. So it's kind of overlooked.
Counselor Owen?
To you, your worship. I'm sure the bylaw officer doesn't like me because I have informed her of different bylaw infractions on a number of occasions. And let me just say this about our bylaw officer. If you complain to her through proper channels, action will be taken. If you are complaining about your neighbor and you are concerned that she will tell your neighbor that you're the one that complained, the bylaw officer will not tell anyone who laid the complaint. So I just want to make that clear for the public, that if you have a complaint, go through proper channels, contact the bylaw officer. And you do not need to know about your name being disclosed. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 8.8, Aqua contract renewal 2026-2027. This will be presented by Director of Public Works Stefan Forte, moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW 24 entitled Aqua Contract Renewal 2026-2027, be received, and that council hereby approves the town entering into an amending agreement with the Ontario Clean Water Agency, Aqua, for operations and maintenance services of the water and wastewater treatment systems as presented, that the mayor and municipal clerk be authorized to enter into an amending agreement on behalf of the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake with Aqua, extending the existing contract for services for an additional 2-year term, covering the period from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2027, for the following consideration. Year 1, $892,444, and year 2, and subsequent years, $892,444, plus an inflationary adjustment of the greater of CPI or 2%, plus an adjustment for maintaining the insurance, which is renewed annually by Aqua. And the council hereby direct administration to prepare and conduct a request for proposal for the operations and maintenance of the town of Kirkland Lake's water and wastewater treatment facilities to be awarded prior to January 1st, 2028. And finally, that an execution bylaw be presented for 3 readings on January 6th, 2026.
Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. The Ontario Clean Water Agency has provided operations and maintenance services
for water and wastewater treatment facilities for many years now. The current agreement expires at the end of this year, and Aqua has submitted a final proposal for a 2-year extension covering January 1st, 2026 through to December 31st, 2027. The extension ensures continuity of service while introducing several enhancements, which includes additional staffing to improve efficiency and retain experienced operators, expanded training and performance monitoring to strengthen compliance and reduce operational risks, improved asset management and daily inspections for better long-term planning, and enhanced communication and transparency, including quarterly reports and monthly updates with staff. Financially, the proposed annual operations and maintenance cost for 2026 is $892,444, with inflationary adjustments in 2027, plus chemical costs billed at Aqua's cost with a 12% management fee. While this represents an increase from the current contract, these adjustments reflect market realities and support improved service delivery. Importantly, this extension positions the town to prepare and conduct a competitive request for proposal before the end of 2027, ensuring that council can review market options and pricing for the next contractor. Administration recommends approving this 2-year extension and authorizing mayor and clerk to execute the amended agreement. This approach provides stability, ensures regulatory compliance, and gives us the time needed to plan a fair and transparent procurement process. Thank you, and I am happy to take any questions. And we do have 3 members from Aqua here tonight to assist me with questions.
Thank you so much. Councillor Kylie?
Through you, your worship. What is the difference in what we budgeted for 2025 and 2026?
Through Madam Mayor, through Councillor Kylie, the difference in cost from 2025 to 2026, if we're now looking at the chemical bills, is $50,000, which represents a 6% increase from 2025.
So that takes into account the additional services that they're proposing?
Correct.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. And I don't want anybody to have a heart attack, so I'm giving you forewarning on this. For once, I am in favor of going for a single bid contract. And I will explain, especially on a contract this big, I normally would not recommend that. We're really getting an enhanced contract with this contract. There are additional services, a number of which look after concerns that I have had in the past. In previous research that I've done, when this has gone out to RFP in other communities, for the most part, it's only one other company that bids on the contract. And traditionally, they have bid higher than Aqua. So the cost of going out to an RFP, I don't think would be justified, because there's very few companies that can offer these services. For the most part in Ontario, it's Aqua, or it's run by the community, the municipalities themselves. I'm glad to see the changes, the improvements. Well, I consider them enhancements in the contract. And yes, I am going to vote in favor of the single bid contract for once. And I hope the rest of council will agree. Thank you.
Councillor Dyken?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support this just where we are in terms of next year is an election year. This will get us into a year after. So the next council can maybe look at a longer term agreement with someone. But I like the continuity of service. I like the enhancements that they're making. I don't like the $50,000 increase, but it is what it is. So I would support this for sure.
Councillor Cannon, follow-ups?
Through you, your worship. I support what Councillor Owens is saying, especially and continuity of contract, for $50,000 with the enhanced services. I think we're well looked after by Aqua. They're very professional. They've done a great job for us. There's never been any complaints. So I would support a single proposal to Aqua renew the contract.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing further noted. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.9, winter maintenance operational review contract award. This will also be presented by Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Dyke.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW25, entitled Winter Maintenance Operational Review Contract Award, be received, and the council hereby award the contract to KPMG LLP for the provision of consultancy services for conducting an operational review of the town's winter maintenance as outlined in the scope of work identified within 62725 RFP as presented in the amount of 85,000 plus HST to be funded from the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve, and that the mayor and municipal clerk are hereby authorized to execute the contract and any related amendments proposed in favor of the municipality without detrimental impact and the form satisfactory to the chief administrative officer and director of public works. And finally, that an execution bylaw be presented for 3 readings on January 6, 2026.
Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. As you know, council previously directed administration to issue an RFP for a comprehensive review of our winter maintenance operations. This review is intended to ensure that our practices align with best standards, improve efficiency, and maintain accessibility for all residents. The town received 3 qualified submissions, one from Collier Projects Leaders, another from KPMG LLP, and the third from McLaren Municipal Consulting. After a thorough evaluation, including team experience, corporate qualifications, project understanding, and price, KPMG LLP achieved the highest overall score. Their proposal demonstrated very strong expertise, very clear work plan, and value-added components that support transparency and accountability. Administration is recommended that council award the contract to KPMG in the amount of $85,000 plus HST funded from the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve. This engagement will allow us to undertake a detailed operational review and bring forward recommendations to improve service delivery, financial sustainability, and accessibility. Awarding the contract does align with council's strategic priorities of service excellence, sustainable core services, and building a vibrant and prosperous community. Once the review is complete, a final report and an updated winter maintenance manual will be presented to council. Tonight, we're seeking council's approval to proceed with the award and authorize mayor and clerk to execute the contract and related documents. Thank you. Take any questions.
Councillor Kylie.
Through you, your worship. This is about the 3rd time we've gone to consultants for snow removal. And very little change comes out of it. Quite honestly, I think our town department does a decent job under tough conditions at times. And put out $85,000, it's close to 1% of our tax rate. It's a total waste, in my opinion. I don't support this.
Councillor Shabba.
To you, Your Worship. The question to Director, when was the last time we undertook this vast operational review of snow to wet? Because if he's talking about we've done that many times, so what was to the best of your knowledge, when was the last time there was a comprehensive review of a snow remover and all that going out to consultant? What we're doing now, when was the last time that we did it? 10 years, 20 years ago, or how far? If you have Not sure, anybody know?
C.A.L. Smith.
You, member of the council, I believe it was prior to my arrival here. I think it was when consultant did a review of, I think it was all departments, and they did touch upon winter maintenance within public works. However, it wasn't a deep dive. It was decent, but it wasn't a deep dive. And I believe that some of the recommendations in that report were to do an expansive investigation of winter maintenance. And what we're proposing in this one is to really look at all aspects of winter maintenance. For example, there's been talk about having another shift in the evenings, for example, and what that looked like in the costing. That was not even covered in the last review, not even close. So this way we are looking at what we can do to improve the service that we are offering our residents. How can we make adjustments to our current service level? So again, the previous studies, I think 2019, I believe, yeah. Again, there were some valid recommendations in there. I think we've acted on some. But again, this is looking at a deeper dive into strictly winter operations.
Councillor Shabbat?
Yeah, thank you, for your worship, but just to follow up, I just want to use this time to really, applaud this staff for the job well done during this, winter season. From what I've seen so far, it's nothing but A1. So, I don't know where it is gonna lead to tonight, but the staff are doing a good job.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. The last time I remember the handbook being redone was back when I was still working, so that's quite a few years ago. And what the council of the day did at that point was they consulted, or I'm not sure whether they paid them or not, but there were former employees that had been involved with the snow plowing and removal. And they basically came up with a new plan for the town. That's quite a few years ago, because I've been retired for a while now. So it has been, I know it probably seems less than that because every winter we deal with the same thing. And I'm sure our director's tired about hearing the complaints, and I wouldn't want his job because no one's gonna be happy. And so I think having an outside group take a deep dive into this, and for what I understand, and the director can correct me if I'm wrong, they actually want to come up and see the operations, seeing exactly how we're doing things, which I cannot remember in the 35 years that I was a reporter, the town ever taking that approach to evaluating its snow plowing and snow removal. So this study is a lot more comprehensive than what's been done in the past. So for that reason, I can support it.
Councillor Dayton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not even sure I'm on the side yet, because I do agree with Councillor Kylie. Like, it's 85,000 here, 65,000, like we keep doing that. And I have heard really great feedback this winter. I want Public Works to know that about snow removal. I think there's a gap, like when there's slush. I don't think we've addressed that in our thing, but so here we have review experts that we want to pay 85,000, and even if they come up, and then we have the real experts that are on the ground. So I'm not sure. I wanted us to pay $85,000 plus tax for something I think Public Works can give us input in, or not input, but information, and work together to even do I don't want to say better job because you're doing a great job. But there is a gap, I think, with the slush. But anyways, I just want to put it out there.
So I just want to make a point to note, as per the report, the funds are not coming out of levy, they're actually coming out of the winter maintenance stabilization fund. So I just want to note that this isn't something that we're going to be taking more money for. This is actually coming out of a fund for stabilization. So I just wanted to note that. And as well, just from conversation around the table, Director, can you remind us how this report came to be? Why are we now seeing the permission of council being asked to award this contract? How did that come about? Could you remind us?
Of course, it came about, every year we have to bring forward any updates to the winter maintenance manual. And I've been here for this, I believe it's my 5th season, and there's always been comments or observations that would hint that our residents or the town is looking for something a little different, or looking for slight improvements. And, you know, after discussing the matter with my road supervisors, I look, after these matters, you know, they're following the same plan or very similar plan that's been in place for, you know, decades over. But I do have a team that's very willing to make some adjustments. You know, we do have a good team. But I wasn't able to present those changes that would bring along more satisfaction from our residents. So that's why this came about, is which avenue can we take to find this information for both our staff and for residents alike? And that this is what we came up with, is we needed some outside expertise to come in and take a look at our operation with a fresh pair of eyes and see if they can make some suggestions for us.
Thank you for that reminder. Councillor Kiley.
Through you, your worship. A couple of things. I agree, we have staff, experienced staff in the works department that we can go to and ask them to provide input. And I think they're very knowledgeable, they do a decent job. You're always gonna have some complaints from residents, there's no question about it. The only way I could support this proposal is if it was included that we were looking at putting on a night shift and how that would affect the operation from an operation standpoint and a monitoring standpoint. Otherwise, I figure it's a waste of time. The last time I saw KPMG, they didn't have one of their employees on the grader. So they don't know down and dirty what goes on. That's my opinion.
Councillor Shabba.
Yeah, to your worship, I'm on the fence as well, because I understand what the CEO has said about digging deeper down into operations and whatnot. And I appreciate the fact that these people will come here and watch everything before they write the report. But the problem that I have with that is that winter is a cyclic event. One winter can never may not be the same as the next winter. So when you come in this winter or whatever winter you picked, and then you base your report on that particular winter, the next winter may do a little bit different from that. So I'm a little bit not comfortable with that approach. I know we complain here every time because people complain to us. That's all they know. That's all they can see. You know, the roads are not plowed. You can see, you can tell. You call me or call the mayor, call the CEO. We get it. We got all of that. But again, we need to do something. I appreciate the director this is what we wanted to do. But on the other hand too, maybe we have all these people from the past that are retirees from that department that may be able to give us sound advice on what we can do going forward, because winter is winter. And finally, your worship, I think in some cases, we have people coming in, from outside the area that really never had interaction with winter that much. Never at all. I mean, maybe read a little bit about it, but never live through it. You can read all you want about winter, you have to live through it many years to really tell, yes, it is winter. And they're writing a report, this and that. So I'm a little bit unsettled because of that, but I do realize where we need to do something, but then again, that's a lot of money, $85,000. So.
Councillor Owens.
We're having the wrong conversation right now, Your Worship. The conversation we're having was had on September 2nd, when we passed this motion to go out to RFP.
Yeah.
The conversation right now is to award a contract or not. Not, should we be doing it? Just let's award the contract. Is there a way to, like?
Councillor Owens, I do
I'll
appreciate,
stop there.
no, Councillor Owens, I do appreciate your direct communication, because that is exactly what I was aiming for when I asked how we came about this discussion. The discussion on whether or not we should go out to RFP has already occurred. Table.
We voted.
We voted on, so we are, you're right. We can, at any time, change our mind or make amendments to our decisions, but this evening, the question we are being asked is whether we are going to approve this particular contractor for this RFP that has already gone out because we requested it prior. So if we can kind of come back to that discussion, it would be greatly appreciated to ensure that we're discussing the proper topic at the table. Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, Your Worship, if I may ask the director, KPMG is a huge corporation. In the past, when they have bid on contracts, it has been through their Sudbury office. The question came up about whether they knew about winter. So is this contract going to be dealt with out of their Sudbury office? Or their Timmins office? I believe they have an office in Timmins as well.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't know which office it's going to be run out of. But to your concerns in regards to whether or not they have experience with winter maintenance, their proposal spoke for itself. Yes.
Just for, the only question I did have, and I think we've addressed it a little bit, will our new contractors be presented that old report from WSCS?
Yes, we absolutely can share that report. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Kylie?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Can we, add to that proposal that we sent out, the RFP, to have them look at, a night shift?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is part of the proposal. Yes, that is part of the study that they will be doing, is looking at these options.
I'll be
And
checking
waiting on
it
it.
very closely.
Okay.
Councillor Owen?
Yeah, through your worship, is it, because we don't have a copy of the proposal, which is fine, is it in the proposal that they will be talking to our staff about the history of snow removal in Kirkland Lake?
Madam Mayor, Councillor, we're going, yes, they will be on site and we will have an opportunity to meet with our on-ground staff. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing further, all in favor? Opposed, item carried. Thank you. Item number 8.10, proposed 2025-2026 winter maintenance manual. This will be delivered again by Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte, moved by Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW26 entitled proposed 2025-2026 winter maintenance manual be received, and find that council adopt the town of Kirkland Lake's 2025-2026 winter maintenance manual as presented.
Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to all the council. This report reflects council's November 4th resolutions aimed at improving safety in school zones during winter operations. The updated winter maintenance manual includes two key changes. First,
All designated school zones have been added to the high priority snow removal list. Second, snow removal in school zones will be prohibited during peak student travel times, 1 hour before and after the start and end of the school days. The exception is in emergencies and where safety would be compromised. These changes will enhance student safety and accessibility while maintaining compliance with minimum maintenance standards. However, they will require scheduling adjustments. There will be some increase over time and resource reallocation, which we will monitor throughout the season. Public Works will maintain ongoing communications with local schools to ensure smooth implementation and address any concerns promptly. A comprehensive review of our winter maintenance operations will begin in January 2026, with further recommendation expected later in the year. Recommendations tonight are that council receive this report and adopt the new winter maintenance manual as presented. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you. Item number 9, members' motions. There are none this evening. Item number 10, readings and consideration of bylaws. 10.1, bylaw number 25-076, stop up and close roads and laneways M1417, moved by Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor Shava.
Be it resolved, excuse me, be it resolved that the I knew one day it was gonna happen. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first and second time. Bylaw number 2576, being a bylaw to stop up and close Martell Street, Bank Street, Max Street, Premier Avenue, and laneways of Plan M1417, Township of Technow, Town of Kirkland Lake, District of Timiskaming.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Second and third readings moved by. Third reading moved by, thank you, Councillor Ranger, and seconded by Councillor Dykens.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a third time and numbered, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw number 2576.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 10.2, bylaw number 25-077, deeming bylaw lots 1 to 57 M-1417, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first and second time. Bylaw number 2577, being a bylaw to deem lots 1 through 57 of registered plan M1417 not to be registered.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Third reading moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be resolved that the following bylaw be read a third time, numbered, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw number 2577.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 10.3, bylaw number 25-082, Voyant Alert System Services Agreement, moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first and second time. Bylaw number 2582, being a bylaw authorizing the execution of a services agreement with iSoft Technologies, Inc. for the Voyant Alert multi-purpose notification service and support.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Third reading moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a third time and numbered, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw number 2582.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimous. Item 11, notices of motion. Councillor Shava.
Yeah, the first one is removing HST and GST from new homes to support housing affordability.
Okay. You have 11.2 as well.
Yeah, this is Swim to Survive training.
Thank you. 11.3 is myself, interlibrary book rates with Canada Post. Item number 12, councillors' reports and committees of council and local and regional board updates. Do any members of council have anything to share? Moved by Counselor Owen, seconded by Counselor Ranger. Does any member at the table have anything to share this evening of events, activities, or duties? Counselor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. I had the pleasure of attending a couple of Christmas concerts at Central Public School. What I like about the concerts is with the younger grades, you never know what's going to happen. And to me, that's far more important than the talent that the students show on stage. What I also find amusing is to watch the grandparents and the parents as they watch their loved ones on the stage acting out and acting up and looking for them and waving to them and sometimes saying, "Hi, Mom," you know. It was very enjoyable. It's one of the highlights of my years to go to these Christmas concerts. As well, I attended the Sound of Music at the LaSalle, and it never fails to amaze me how much talent we have. From the guy who can't hold a note to sit there and to listen to these people sing, and sometimes they're your neighbors or your friends, and you don't even know they have this talent, right? It's amazing. But it's been a while since I've been in the LaSalle, and I was very impressed with the progress that they are making in restoring the facility. They are now starting to do some of the interior painting, and I can't wait till they just get that done, because it changes the whole atmosphere inside. It makes it look clean and finished. And so I want to congratulate the group that's restoring the LaSalle Theater, and it's also, I believe, the same group that puts on the plays and brings us movies. It's certainly been an added attraction for downtown. It's given our youth another activity to perform, and they certainly stuck with it through thick and thin, and now they're starting to get financial support from other organizations. So it's really nice to see them working away on LaSalle. Thank you.
Counselor Dyken.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not something in specific, but in general, just the amount of generosity and care that is being shared at this time of year. It is throughout the year, but it becomes more focused. You know, I don't want to focus on one, but I will. First of all, there's a compassionate meal by the Lions Club, and then all the groups that are supporting the food bank, because food insecurity is huge right now. But the one I want to focus on is the Christmas Wish and what they do for the kids. This is the first year I had somebody that I know that was there when they were buying the items for the children, from pajamas to shirts, pants, underwear, socks. Like, it was just overwhelming to see what they buy for each child. So I just want to send a shout out to Christmas Wish this year, not negating what all the other groups do as well.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? For my part, I am pleased to give the year in review for 2025, as this is the last council meeting of this year. This year, the town focused heavily on community pride by celebrating current and past members of Kirkland Lake and their achievements at council meetings, and also by delivering the Citizen Award program to officially recognize members annually, as passed this evening. Presented the 2025 Ontario Senior of the Year Award to Miss Beverly McChesney Rumble, and celebrating the milestone birthday of one of our oldest community members, who was turning 104 years old at the time. The town awarded several community improvement grants to local businesses, including Here Right Canada, the Curling Club, and others. Kirkland Lake was featured on many social media this year by outside agencies and influences like Tourism Association of Ontario, See You Soon Travel, Chicks and Machines, and What a Ride, to name but a few. Staff attended the 2025 Toronto International Snowmobile, ATV, and Power Sports Show with our new branded booth to ensure Kirkland Lake was seen by the thousands of potential visitors looking for their next great northern adventure. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, we held the most public meetings, I feel, since I joined council in 2028, offering the public opportunity to speak directly to council on items such as the town budget, waste collection changes, user fees and charges, water and wastewater rates, zoning amendments, notice policy, and the new council procedures. And proudly, we also held the first public town hall, which any community member could come to speak to us on any matter that mattered to them. This year, we saw some changes in the way we do things, with the province granting strong mayor powers to our municipality in May. I did choose to use these powers to have budget delivered to the whole of council on or before February 1st, and also requested a 3-year capital planning be presented at that time. The town implemented a new waste collection contract, a 4-way stop at Allen and Second, signed an MOU with the Public Library Board, and transitioned to a fleet management leasing plan, which is projected to save the community about $400,000 over the next 10 years. Some successes of note are the MAT has collected approximately $300,000 and will be put to good use in 2026, with input already flowing in from community groups and individuals. Tax sales of 32 properties, resulting in 14 sold and over $400,000 in sale revenue. The town sold almost 20 other properties, including a large tract of land on Archer Drive, speaking to the incredible demand for and interest in development in Kirkland Lake. The completion of the 3rd consecutive Connecting Link project, as well as 10 other sections of roadwork, including areas on Queen, Kirkland, Taylor, Main, Green, Federal, Conway, and Westinghouse. We also took steps towards building the future of the municipalities in the years ahead, with the approval of the corporate business plan, the KL Culture Roadmap Plan, the winter maintenance plan as tonight, and the TPR operational reviews, the request for expressions of interest for the airport, and finally the beginning of the official plan review. As we begin the new year, the last 10 months of this council will serve together for our community. I look forward to continuing our open, transparent, and accountable dialogue at this table. And as I said in the very beginning, though we may not see eye to eye on every issue, may we remember we are working for the betterment of the entire community. May we choose to listen with open minds, take advice from the experts, and decide not what is politically prudent for ourselves, but what is in the best interest of the entire town of Kirkland Lake. With that, Madam Clerk, I'll have you read the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Rick Nolan, seconded by Councillor Janice Ranger. Be it resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 13, proclamations and recognitions. 13.1, National Alzheimer Awareness Month, January 2026. Moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kiley. Okay. Whereas Alzheimer Awareness Month is recognized during the month of January 2026 to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disorder that most often occurs in people over the age of 65, but can occur in adults in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And whereas there are over 733,040 Canadians living with Alzheimer's disease, with a projected of almost 1 million Canadians living with dementia by 2031. And whereas the Alzheimer's Society Cochrane-Timiskaming provides programs and services to all citizens of Cochrane-Timiskaming District. And whereas the Alzheimer's Society Cochrane-Timiskaming encourages the council, residents, business, and services of Kirkland Lake to break the stigma and fear of exclusion attached to Alzheimer's and dementia, and build their community into a dementia-friendly community that supports those living with dementia, to maintain an active role in our community, to take part in new things, and to continue activities they enjoy with confidence. Now, therefore, I, Stacey White, Mayor of the town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2026 as Alzheimer Awareness Month in the town of Kirkland Lake, and build toward becoming a dementia-friendly community. Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved that council sanction a proclamation for National Alzheimer's Awareness Month, January 2026, in the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 14, additional information in mayor's provincial policy matters. Tonight we have 14.1, 2026 OPP annual billing statement, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that the document entitled 2026 Ontario Provincial Police Annual Billing Statement be received for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. 14.2, District of Timiskaming Social Services Administration Board third quarter report, moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the document entitled District of Timiskaming Social Services Administration Board 2025 third quarter report be received for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. We will now take a 10-minute recess before moving into closed. Sorry. We will now rise from recess and move into closed session, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council adjourn in camera pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, to discuss the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board at 7:15 p.m. for the following reason. Item 15.1, supplemental request to purchase mining claim L5941, North Park mining claim L2880, lots 1 to 57 of Plan M147T.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried. Okay. So we shall now rise from in camera, moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 7:43 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 16, recommendations for matter in closed session. There are none this evening. Item number 17, notices of reconsideration. Does any member at the table wish to have any matter decided at this evening's meeting be reconsidered? None noted. Item number 18, confirmation bylaw number 25-083, confirming proceedings, moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time, numbered, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw number 2583, being a bylaw confirming proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, December 16th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? Item unanimous. Item number 19, adjournment. I move for adjournment, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Thank you, folks. Merry Christmas, everyone.